In the normally quiet county of Suffolk, England, a darkness descended, shattering the peace and tranquility that the residents had long cherished. Between 2000 and 2006, over these 6 years the community was gripped by fear and uncertainty as a series of brutal murders unfolded. 5 women, all engaged in sex work, were found murdered in isolated locations. These remote areas, once considered safe, became scenes of unimaginable horror. The victims, each with their own stories and loved ones, became tragically linked to a single name, the Suffolk Strangler. Their lives, though cut short, left a lasting impact on their families and the community. This case, with its chilling details and the vulnerability of the victims, gripped the nation. Headlines screamed of the terror, and the public's fascination with the case grew with each passing day. Fear spread through Ipswich, the town at the heart of the investigation. Residents were on edge, and the usual hustle and bustle of the town was overshadowed by a palpable sense of dread. The police faced immense pressure to find the perpetrator, leading to a complex investigation and a race against time to stop the killings. Every lead was pursued, and every clue was meticulously examined. The man eventually convicted of these horrific crimes was Steve Wright, a seemingly ordinary resident of Ipswich. His arrest brought a mix of relief and shock to the community. Wright, a former forklift truck driver, had no prior history of violent crime, making his descent into becoming a serial killer even more perplexing. His double life left many questions unanswered. This essay will delve into the timeline of the Suffolk Strangler's crimes, explore the lives of the victims, and examine the investigation that led to Wright's arrest and conviction. We will piece together the events that led to his capture. We will also consider the broader impact of these crimes on the community and the ongoing discussions about safety and policing. The legacy of these events continues to influence the way the community views security and justice. The first murder occurred in December 2000, marking the beginning of a terrifying period in Suffolk. The victim, Tanya Nicole, disappeared from Ipswich's red light district, her body discovered 2 weeks later in a brook near Copdock Mill. The discovery sent shockwaves through the community, instilling fear and uncertainty. 5 years passed before the nightmare returned. In 2006, within a short span of time, 4 more women vanished. Gemma Adams, Annette Nichols, Annalie Alderton, and Paula Clennell. Their bodies were found in various rural locations around Ipswich, each death bearing chilling similarities. The rapid succession of murders sent shockwaves through Suffolk and beyond. The police, realizing they were dealing with a serial killer, launched a massive investigation, their resources stretched thin. The pressure mounted with each passing day as the public demanded answers, and the body count continued to rise. The investigation, codenamed Operation Sumac, became one of the largest in British criminal history. The police worked tirelessly, sifting through countless pieces of evidence and following up on numerous leads. The community, gripped by fear, watched anxiously as the investigation unfolded, hoping for a swift resolution to the horror that had befallen their town. Each of the 5 women murdered by Steve Wright was an individual with a story, dreams, and loved ones left behind. Their lives were more than just headlines. They were filled with moments of joy, struggle, and hope. Tanya Nicole, the first victim, was a 19-year-old who had turned to sex work to support a drug addiction. She was a young woman with aspirations and a future that was cruelly taken from her. Gemma Adams, 25, was also struggling with addiction and had been trying to get her life back on track. She had dreams of a better life and was working hard to overcome her challenges. Annette Nichols, 29, had become involved in sex work to support her family. She was a devoted mother who wanted the best for her children, despite the difficult circumstances she found herself in. Annalie Alderton, 24, was a bright and artistic young woman who had been exploited into prostitution. Her creativity and spirit were evident to those who knew her, and her loss was deeply felt. Paula Clennell, 24, was a mother of 3 who had fallen into a cycle of addiction and sex work. She loved her children dearly and was striving to provide for them, despite the overwhelming challenges she faced. Their lives, though cut short tragically, serve as a reminder of the human cost of violence and the vulnerability of those on the margins of society. Each of these women had a unique story, and their deaths left a void in the lives of their loved ones. The murders sparked a national debate about the safety of sex workers and the need for greater support and protection for those involved in this often hidden world. It brought to light the urgent need for systemic changes to ensure the safety and dignity of all individuals. Their stories highlight the complexities of addiction, exploitation, and the systemic issues that can trap individuals in dangerous circumstances. These tragic events underscore the importance of compassion, understanding, and action in addressing the root causes of such vulnerabilities. The Suffolk police faced an unprecedented challenge in their hunt for the Suffolk Strangler. The pressure was immense as the body count rose. They quickly established a dedicated incident room, drafting in officers from across the country. The investigation, known as Operation Sumac, was incredibly resource-intensive, involving hundreds of officers working around the clock. Public appeals for information were crucial, generating numerous leads, some more credible than others. The investigation involved meticulous forensic work, combing through hours of CCTV footage from Ipswich's red light district. They painstakingly pieced together the victims' last movements, hoping to find a common thread, a clue that would lead them to the killer. Section 5 DNA, the silent witness. In the case of the Suffolk Strangler, DNA evidence proved to be pivotal in securing Steve Wright's conviction. Forensic teams meticulously collected samples from the victims' bodies and clothing, hoping for a breakthrough. They also gathered DNA from potential suspects, including those identified through witness statements and CCTV footage. The breakthrough came when a DNA profile, recovered from the body of Paula Clennell, matched Steve Wright's DNA, which was already in the national database due to a previous unrelated offense. This crucial link placed Wright firmly at the center of the investigation. The DNA evidence, along with other circumstantial evidence, painted a damning picture of Wright's involvement in the murders. Section 6, Trial and Conviction, Justice Served. In 2008, Steve Wright stood trial for the murders of the 5 women. The prosecution presented a compelling case built on a mountain of evidence. The DNA evidence linking Wright to the victims was presented as irrefutable proof of his guilt. Witness testimonies placed Wright in the vicinity of the red light district around the times the victims disappeared. Despite the weight of evidence against him, Wright maintained his innocence throughout the trial, claiming he had consensual sex with some of the victims but did not kill them. However, the jury ultimately found him guilty of all 5 counts of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum term of 38 years. Section 7. Life after the verdict. The guilty verdict brought a sense of relief and closure to the families of the victims, but their pain and loss will undoubtedly continue. They have shown remarkable strength and dignity throughout the ordeal, honoring the memories of their loved ones and advocating for justice. For the Suffolk police, the case remains a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of violence against women, particularly those engaged in sex work. The investigation highlighted the importance of forensic science, particularly DNA technology, in solving complex crimes. It also underscored the need for continued vigilance and proactive measures to protect vulnerable individuals and communities. Section 8, Scars on Suffolk, the lasting impact. The shadow of the Suffolk Strangler's crimes continues to linger over Ipswich and the surrounding areas. The case, with its brutal efficiency and the vulnerability of the victims, shook the community to its core. It forced people to confront the harsh realities of sex work and the dangers faced by those involved. The murders sparked a wider debate about safety, particularly for women, in public spaces. It led to increased police patrols in known red light areas and initiatives aimed at providing support and exit strategies for those involved in sex work. The community, though scarred, has shown resilience, coming together to support the victims' families and work towards preventing future tragedies. Section 9. Lessons Learned, Protecting the Vulnerable. The tragic case of the Suffolk Strangler holds important lessons for society as a whole. It highlights the need for greater understanding and support for those involved in sex work, often driven by circumstance and lacking viable alternatives. It underscores the importance of addressing the root causes of vulnerability, such as poverty, addiction, and lack of opportunity. The case also emphasizes the crucial role of law enforcement in protecting the vulnerable and bringing perpetrators of violence to justice. It demonstrates the power of forensic science, particularly DNA technology, in solving crimes and securing convictions. Most importantly, it serves as a stark reminder that every life lost to violence leaves behind a ripple effect of pain, loss, and a community forever changed.